Sugar, 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 sugar. Why are we feeling that we are so addicted to sugar? That is exactly what I want to explore in this video coming up next. So stay tuned. Hello everyone, thank you for joining me for another video. And if this is your first time here, this is Raw Vegan Food Diet, and we discuss all things optimal health, preferably through this plant-based raw diet. And if you're interested in this topic, then please subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification and share this channel with a friend. And like this video if you like it. It encourages me to keep on going here on this YouTube platform. So without further ado, let's get right into the topic. S.O.S. I believe I did bring this up briefly in a video prior about what this actually means. It is salt, oil, and sugar. Or sugar, oil, and salt, whichever one. That is the S.O.S. diet. Now, what is the S.O.S. diet, and why do we seem like we are so, why do some of us still feel like this actually, that we're so addicted to this salt, oil, and sugar combination, or these particular foods? They're mostly found in processed foods, but some of us even do our own home cooking and just slather and just load this stuff up in our so-called foods and our recipes, you know, and we don't feel like it's a meal. We don't feel like it's tasty. We don't feel like it's satiating if it doesn't have these components as a main staple. So what is it all about? Is it just our taste buds? Yeah, we have taste buds all over our tongue that perceive sugar and perceive salt and perceive mouthfeel of different foods. And of course, it works with our brain where we might have a little nostalgia. Maybe we had certain things when we were a kid, or we had certain things, maybe we got a first job, a first car, whatever the case is. We were eating an ice cream cone, whatever that is. So all of those things, as far as taste and flavors, actually do connect with part of who we believe we are, our stories. Some of our stories we hold dear to us. They make us feel comfortable, you know, in our skin, in our bodies. So it's like a more of a mental thing, you know. So it is that component to it. But when I learned, and I think a lot of us know this, but I'm just going to say it plainly because maybe you'll connect. When I learned that sugar actually is addictive or as addictive as heroin, that's when I realized, okay, I've been a little bamboozled here. And sugar is pretty much in every single added sugar, to be specific, is in every single processed food. And if it's not listed as sugar plainly, also it can be hidden in other ingredients, but specifically it's the way when you eat certain processed foods, which is usually in the grocery stores on the shelf, it turns into sugar when it gets into your body, when you consume it. Look, I know that sugar can feel addictive. I know that it feels like you just can't control yourself. I mean, like a bag of Doritos or something like that. I realize that. But you must make a change if you intend to have a good feeling, healthy body. A body that you can not only feel proud of when you look at yourself and you maybe compare your age or what doctors suggest that where you know where you should be at as far as your age and what you should feel like, what you should look like, where your markers are as far as your blood tests and things like that. If you really take that to heed and you really want to either meet or exceed those expectations you have for yourself, then you will have to eliminate sugar. Again, now this is my opinion. Now it's science-backed as well. Just type in Google any type of diet, and one of the first things that they will tell you to do if you are on a diet is the healthiest form of a diet is to cut out sugar, cut out all processed foods. Some even say meat and dairy. I didn't make this shit up. Don't come at me. You know what I mean? I didn't make it up, but I intend to utilize it and I pretend to perfect it in my own life. And I am going to continue to share it. As long as it works for me, I'm going to share it with you guys. So it's just information. Take it if it matters, if it works for you, and then leave it if it doesn't. It's that simple. So most of us know that sugar is addictive. If any of us have ever eaten a carton of ice cream or cookies or anything that has sugar in it, usually a processed food, maybe sugar sweetened drinks, it is very hard to stop eating these things. And the reason why it's probably so hard for us to stop eating these things is because when we eat sugar, it translates to our brain as addictive or as a pleasure reward type of vibe happening. So it's orgasmic, if I could just make it short, right? Sugar also causes an opioid release. And I know you know some opioids as like cocaine and things like that, but I find that very interesting because the opioid release that happens in the body after we eat things like sugar, it actually triggers the brain to release endorphins. And as we know, a lot of us know that endorphins are like the feel-good type of chemical that releases from our brain. So why wouldn't we want to feel good all the time, right? Especially if some of us are battling with depression. So with that, with the dopamine, the opioid release that releases endorphins, all of that leads to an addiction. And I know some scientists want you to believe that, oh, we don't know, but if you've ever eaten sugar for yourself, we know it is hard to stop eating sugar. So I'll just share a personal story with you about how I stopped my sugar addiction. Just in time for Valentine's Day, Raw Vegan Food Diet has new merch. So go show yourself love and wear your heart literally on your sleeve with these cool new designs that are designed especially for people that have raw vegan pride. Now back to the video. This was several years ago. I don't even know how many years ago. It was at least a decade ago. And even now it needs maintenance if I eat specifically refined sugar, again, like table sugar, you know, ingredients and things like that. I will have to not start from the beginning, but I have to remind myself that, yes, this tasted great, but it is a slippery ass slope, as it is for a lot of people that feel like they're addicted to a outside substance. Sometimes it's just the best to stay away for years. And I have done that off and on. I just stay away for a long time and I do not crave it. So that's one solution actually. But before I give you any more solutions, I will suggest to you that it was really a daunting task for me. If some of you are thinking about it right now and you're like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to stop eating sugar or refined table sugar. Yeah, it was hard. I started with tea because that was the only thing that I could visibly see that had sugar in it. Now I know so many things, especially processed foods, had sugar in it, but I wanted to focus on something, I guess the word is tangible, that I could feel, that I can see and I can control. So that was one way that I knew. I believe I had like tea like every day at the time, and probably more than once. And it required at least 1 teaspoon of sugar, maybe even a tablespoon. That was just my go-to. I just love sugar. So I attacked that first. And what I did was I lessened the amount. So not brain science. A lot of us have to wean off of things sometimes. We don't just go cold turkey because it feels like something in our being or however we identify ourselves will scream bloody murder, basically, and have you staring sideways at a Kit Kat or whatever. And a lot of us don't want those type of troubles, right? So we just slowly wean, you know, like taking candy from a baby. You just kind of pull it with tie a string to the candy, you know, just pull it. Maybe it'll get tired, like, oh, whatever, I don't want it. So that's kind of the vibe. I'm sure this does something to the body as well. when you are weaning yourself off. Maybe it does something to the brain where you don't even want the sugar as much. I'm not sure, but it works. Okay, so I went from like a teaspoon or a tablespoon to maybe a teaspoon or half a teaspoon, then like a quarter of a teaspoon, then nothing at all. And at some point, I started only drinking teas that tasted good without refined sugar. So that would be things like mint tea, green tea, even though it was a little bitter at first. I felt good, and I felt like the herbs were doing healing towards me. So that's something else that shifted. My mindset shifted. Instead of thinking what tastes good to this, my tongue, it just started taking on like a natural mental thought of, wow, I'm really healing myself, or I'm really helping myself, my whole body, not just this, muscle in my mouth or whatever the case is with taste buds all over it. So I started thinking more, I'm healing myself. And of course, the first reason I started to wean off of sugar in the first place was for health. Mostly it was for my teeth, because when I was a kid, I got multiple cavities at one time. I remember getting like silver caps and fillings, and it was like a 2-day event. It was like a lot, but I didn't do it then. Even when I was a kid, I didn't really understand that it was the fruit juices and things like that, and the lack of brushing at night, that I was doing it to myself. I was creating an acidosis culture also in my body with the high sugar foods. So yeah, that happened for years. Afterwards, I didn't understand I had the responsibility. My mom's still living with her, so I kind of just delegated the responsibility as far as health for her to let me know, even though she did sometimes with the brushing of the teeth. That was my bad. But I learned as an adult more of what was being done to me because I felt alone and I felt addicted. A lot of people do not want to change their diets. Why would you change your diet if it's not hurting you, right? That's the way a lot of humans work. It seems like we work not from, we want to be healthy, but we don't want to feel pain. So that's where I was when I went through painful experience, or I went through an experience where I don't feel like I'm in control of my life. I just feel like I'm overeating, I'm compulsively eating, and that just doesn't feel like me. So it's more of a, I want to say mental, but it was more of an emotional type of feeling that I felt out of control. So that was my pain point. And I wanted to see if I can regain some type of control, not just of my mental, but also my physical body. So that was my journey. And then, of course, I moved to fruit juice. Fruit juice was like, next to tea, was the number one thing that I always drank since I was a kid. That was my favorite. I can't even imagine being addicted to anything else. It was just fruit juice. That was just the straight, I don't know, never had these substances, but like a crack juice or heroin juice or whatever. It was just like, bing, So yeah, I was addicted to fruit juice. Whether it's the Minute Maid, it was whatever was in the carton at that time, and you just look at the back of it and you see the flavor. Oh no, it was real fruit juice. No, it was 100% fruit juice. My mom did good on that, right? I was really, really, really addicted to that refined sugar vibe. So I had to cut back. Now, how did I cut back on that? Water. So instead of trying to cut back, I would just swap. So that's another thing. I'd swap water for juice. So hard at the time, but I was equipped. I was, I have my weapons. And my weapons, one was my mindset of, this is harmful and someone's trying to trick me. Now, this spoke to my ego because I didn't know at the time that advertisers and maybe even the government, I'm not sure, actually are in cahoots with each other to sell to my type at the time, which I'm a kid, and just flood me with all of these feelings of addictiveness in the hopes of resulting in sales. Now that's how I feel, right? A lot of these brands and the so-called pyramids and all of that stuff like that is just to either line the pockets of those parties that are promoting to you, or something even more sinister, population control. No clue, don't want to go deep into it. But when I got wind of that, that was a great battery in my back. So it got into my mental. And then it made me realize that maybe there's another way. If this is really not healthy, and maybe this is just all about business and it's an agenda to suppress something in me, maybe I deserve to see, who am I really? That someone cares so much about me that they have to try to control me or suppress me. So who am I really? And let me find out. So armed with that knowledge, I just decided to swap, say, my morning fruit juice, afternoon fruit juice, with a cup of water, 2 cups of water, 4 cups of water. So it grew over the years. So first it was like 1 cup of water, swap for a juice. Then it was 2 cups. Then I remember going up to 4 cups, and then I added lemon. So this is spanning at least over a decade. So that helped as well. Then I just started looking at those juices as, it's not worth it. I'm worth it. That's the big thing that becomes a takeaway. I am worth it. So, and I was willing to find out, what could I be? What could I feel like if I felt in control of my life? If I felt like my teeth were not about to fall out my head, or I had to get some screws in there, from the dentist for the 15 millionth time or whatever, what could that life feel like? And I actually didn't have highs or lows or dips, or I didn't use food to actually judge myself up. What if I didn't use fruit juice and I actually faced some of the things and some of the failures and feelings that I've had towards myself and towards this environment that I found myself in? What if I actually faced that instead of kept feeding this addiction and this feeling of feeling good, and not wanting to look at things because maybe they hurt too much, or maybe I thought I would break, So it has really been a self-healing journey, as you can see. And if you're on that journey as well, and you feel addicted to sugar, meaning like you just cannot stop, but you want to, hopefully these tips help you. And also, hopefully this knowledge or this information sparks you in the same type of way to actually affirm your deservedness. And you'll find your own tips and tricks and things like that just from that feeling that will actually motivate you to just cut it out. Literally, just cut it out. And see for yourself, how do you feel when you're doing this, when you're eating these type of foods? Can you stop? Is it easy? Because if it is, I may not even really be talking to you. Because if you can have a little nosh of chocolate here and there with sugar, which I can now, because I have, but I've been through it, but when you're aware, you can eat or do pretty much anything and pretty much heal yourself and stuff like that. I really do promote raw vegan food diet as the healthiest type of diet, say from breatharianism, meaning fasting and not feeling like you have to eat all the time. So having food freedom in that sense. But other than that, to have like a solid food or liquid food experience, I feel like raw vegan food diet is the most healthiest diet that you can have. But if people dip and dive even into like certain areas in meat and things like that, every now and then, or potato chips, things with the S.O.S in it, the sugar, the oil, and the salt, the trifecta of death, basically, I feel like. But if people are able to dip and dabble in these things and just cut themselves off and be like, oh, I just had a bite of cheeseburger, Beyond Meat cheeseburger, whatever the case is, I'm good. I didn't cause any harm to myself. I don't feel like I'm spiraling, like I have to go there tomorrow and the next day and the next day. But if you do, cut it out. Like I say, go raw vegan, do a juice fast or something like that, or a water fast, reset your brain, reset yourself, because part of it is the food, part of optimal health is food, but a major part of it is how you feel about yourself and what you think about yourself. So it's not all about the food diet. And if this video has helped you, please give it a like. Please share your experience with the rest of the community and any words of encouragement that you may have. And please share this video with someone that you think it could help. Also, check out my next video on my vegan story, and that might actually help you realize if some of the things that you're eating may actually be causing or contributing to your detriment of your health. And maybe you can make a change for yourself based on this information. So I love you guys, and I will be back with another important video. So I'll see you again.